Hey, what's up, everyone? Man, welcome back to another episode of Jesus Take the Three. Hey, today's going to be a good one. I've got on a good friend, Rick. I want to say real quick, though, to all of you listening, as you know, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, all these different platforms, but we're also now available on YouTube. And the reason I like that is because I know that will capture a bigger audience. My dad, for example, he is kind of older. He doesn't know how to work anything podcast, but he does love YouTube. And his first question to me was, Justin, will it be on YouTube? It wasn't before, but it is now. So I really want to encourage everyone listening to go to YouTube, look up @_Justin Temple, subscribe to the channel. All the old podcasts are up there in video form. And of course, this one and all the new ones to come will be on YouTube as well. And then of course, whatever you listen on, just keep listening to that too. But I look forward to taking advantage of YouTube, maybe posting some actual clips and videos to that eventually. So it's still important that even if you listen on like Spotify, man, go subscribe to the YouTube channel, everybody. Well, hey, y'all, today I do got my dude, Rick. Rick, what's up, man?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. I know at the time of this recording, you just had a long day of work. So did I. So, but man, what not a better way to end the day than to talk about some Duke basketball. So I'm stoked to have you up here, man.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to be here. We have a lot to talk about today. We got NC State game.
Yep.
We have UNC. I got to first give a shout out to our small little group chat that we got. Rob, Cam, Justin, obviously myself. I know we enjoyed that. Let's roll it back to the Virginia game. There was some little inside jokes and stuff.
There was a lot of inside jokes. Well, it's funny. So I had Cameron on. I think it was the second episode, and well, we're in the group chat, so we know how we all are in the group chat. But I had to tell Cameron ahead of time. I was like, "Look, bro, this is a Christian podcast, man. I've got a lot of people from my church listening." Monday night.
Yeah,
so it's like a quick little review, because I know those games can typically be like a trap game, and sometimes you don't, you're not as prepared for it because you're so fixed on a huge game like Carolina coming up. But in hindsight, man, looking back on it, man, what were some of your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, that was definitely one where maybe historically Duke fans going into it were like, this might be an L, especially that PNC magic that they seem to pull out of nowhere, but.
Well, we did only win one out of the last 6, I think, in PNC. Is that what?
Yeah, it was something like that, where it's like, okay, if they're gonna drop one, like it might be this one, but
right.
I think initially, I have a few thoughts. I'll start with Coach.
Yeah,
I think I think the defensive game plan to essentially shut down DJ Horn.
Yeah.
And make them go through Burns.
Yeah.
Initially, we're watching that in the first half. We're like, he's cooking. Like, he's just making everything. That was the most points he scored all season. He had 27.
Yeah.
But looking back on that, that's a pretty solid game plan. And I think,
it is.
I think Coach definitely gets some flack sometimes, which I think is somewhat unfair. He is new to the role, but
and he's killing it, man. 2 years in, gosh.
Yeah. I mean, DJ Horn, I think, I got to double check on this, but I think off the top of my head, he had, I want to say it was 3 or 4 straight games of 25 plus.
Yeah.
Going into that, and we held him to 8 points.
Yeah. Because the guy I was watching the game with, I'm like, listen, you can't shut down every weapon on a team.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, you want to try to shut down a big weapon, but you can't shut down everything. And I agree. What's his name? Big dude on state?
DJ Burns.
Yeah, man, ate us up. But you look at everything else, though. Thank God it worked out for us.
Yeah, it's just, you're trading those 2-pointers for threes on our end, and we have a more efficient offense. So he was definitely going with the numbers there, and the odds stacked for us in that type of game plan, and it obviously worked. Yeah. We started to make some shots. In the second half, I think we were at 35% in the first half, and we finished around almost 50. So that's a pretty good jump.
Because I think we were 65 in the second half, and for those who don't know basketball, that's pretty darn good right there to shoot 65% from the field. And I remember going into the game, I figured it would be quite a contest, and I was watching it with my friend JC. So shout out JC, big State fan too. I'm surprised I had him at my house, honestly. But I remember telling him, I said, the way I think the game's going to go is I think State's going to start off strong because they're in PNC, man. They're fired up, home court advantage.
Yep.
But then I feel like Duke's going to crawl back into it, make it a game by halftime. Second half, Duke's going to run away with it. Man, it blew my head up to see the game go exactly like that. But I'm just glad we won, man, because, like, holy cow, it's like, at the end of the day, you just want to win.
Yep.
And,
you just got to stack the dubs. That's all you got to do.
And, Rick, look, man, you don't live in North Carolina. There's a lot of State fans here, as you can imagine. They're the worst fans because you get your Carolina fans, and at least Duke and Carolina fans here, they go at each other, but they can kind of respect each other. State fans, though, man, they're so nagging. So I'm like, man, there is no way Duke can lose this game because I've got to go to church tomorrow. I've got to go to work. I've got to be around all these people, and it worked out. Well, now we've got the big game coming up, man, this Saturday.
Yeah.
It's not only just game 2 of Duke and Carolina. Of course, Carolina won the first one, but it's Jeremy Roach Senior Night, and Duke has an opportunity to clinch a share in the ACC, man. So what are you looking forward to on Saturday?
I think it starts, if we can take it a step back, it starts on the just effort.
Yeah.
Not saying the first time the guys didn't show up and give 100%, but you could definitely tell that a UNC showed up in that game, and they were embarrassed from last year. RJ and company and Bacot, you could tell they really wanted it.
Yeah.
And I don't think we matched that. So I think the first step, I should say, is bringing that level of necessary energy.
Right.
And that kind of spreads to everything with rebounding to making an extra pass to hustling, like those little types of plays. They got every single one of those last game. Diving a little bit deeper, I think defensively we're in a better spot than the last matchup, which is crazy because it's only a month ago. But
I would agree. Our team really grew up a lot within a few weeks.
Yeah. They've been humming for a month now. We picked up a loss to Wake, and that was their best shooting performance.
Oh yeah,
in 30 plus years. But even if you watch, it actually starts with our backcourt. Yeah. If you watch those guys communicate and rotate on defense, it's night and day.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think the key factor for them is going to be Ingram again. We're going to have an answer. He kind of went off against us.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
We'll see. RJ had a lower shooting percentage. I think we've been playing better defensively, so we can see how that backcourt matchup is.
Because you still have to focus on RJ because he's been shooting so darn well lately.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's almost somewhat like I'm not comparing the two to apples to apples, but the game plan against State where it's like, okay, we're gonna eliminate Horn and make other guys beat us. We're gonna have to have that same game plan and be like, okay, RJ's gonna get his a little bit, but let's try to contain him. Yeah, and the guys are gonna have to step up against Ingram and Bacot. Yeah. So you're talking Stewart's going to have to give good minutes. He only played 2 minutes last game. Yeah. Young's going to have a good day. Yep. Kyle. So we'll see what happens. I like where we're trending over the last month.
Yeah. It's good timing too, man. Gosh, here we are in March, and I feel like we're saying very similar to last year. Like, man, we're clicking.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I can say that we're peaking, but we're at least clicking. And I hope that we can look back after all this and say, yep, Duke was peaking, but we're at least clicking. And we got to keep it going into Saturday. I think, just me looking at it, I think we definitely got to stay out of foul trouble down low for our guys, man. But I say, man, just attack their paint. You know what I mean? Attack it. And then, of course, naturally, hopefully the goal is that from attacking the paint, if you don't draw something, you can kick it out, man, for McCain 3, for a Roach 3, or just something pretty cool. And then, of course, it's crazy to think that Jeremy Roach has one game left in Cameron Indoor Stadium. And so I'm curious to see what kind of senior performance are we going to see from Roach, and man, how much do our guys step up for Roach? And like, man, talk about Roach for a second, because I feel like in the midst of this team, and maybe you disagree, but maybe in my opinion, Roach has been a little underrated, but his stats have been stellar this year. What are some of your thoughts on Roach, especially he kind of wraps up his career at Duke?
Yeah, I mean, he's been absolutely fantastic this year. You can compare him a little bit to QC's, Quinn Cook's senior year. I mean, I don't have Roach's splits off the top of my head, but at least a week or so ago, he was definitely over 40%. I think he was pushing 45 from three-point range, and he's dynamite from the free throw line. Yeah. He's absolutely automatic from the mid-range, which is a lost art in basketball these days. But he's pretty much been that steadying force for us this whole year. It took a little bit for McCain to get going. Right. Proctor's been in and out because of injuries. He's had some really good moments. He's been hurt. Mitchell had a slow start, but and Flip has even had, his ups and downs. But
you've seen some of my texts in the group chat about Flip.
Yeah, but Roach has been that, that steadying force for us. So it's interesting, because I know people are already talking about it. Maybe he does have that COVID year that maybe he would come back next year. Right. They're still going to honor him regardless. Oh, yeah. This year. I think because of his splits, I don't like getting into the rumor mill too much. Right. But I think because of how well he's playing and shooting. Yeah. I mean, I think this might be his moment to maybe make that jump.
Yeah, I think so. Do it kind of while you're on top of the wave.
Yeah. Now, he's not a true point guard. Right. So he's a shorter combo guard in the league. But there's been a few guys that have hit the league and they've been able to, make a solid living for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, man, Jeremy's so good. And because you mentioned it in the group chat, I think, or maybe you tweeted it out, but Jeremy Roach's mid-range game is so nice, man. I've always loved his mid-range game and just his ability to finish at the rim. I mean, some of the shots that dude makes, I'm like, how did he, weave himself through the crowd down in the paint and make that shot?
Right. High off the glass and everything. I don't know how he does it. He's only, 6'1", I think?
Yeah, shorter than me, Well, I'm like 6'1", 6'2", and that dude's doing it. Did you by chance catch the Coach K, Coach Roy interview that they did in front of the crowd with the coaches?
Yeah. After I think it was after the Virginia game. I think I had it on ACC Network. Yeah, that was really good. It's just, I mean, they're both legends. They're two GOATs. Yeah. It was really cool just to see how, I think for the casual fan, sometimes people get to thinking that somehow that these guys aren't friends or they aren't amenable in any way, but just them talking about the game and their favorite moments or how they're coaching and just getting into the nuts and bolts of their practices and how they recruited, that's super interesting to me, and I loved every second of that. Yeah. If anybody hasn't checked that out, I highly recommend it. I assume ACC Network has it on their website, and you can rewatch it, but that was pretty cool.
And I recorded it because I'm like, I've probably watched it at least probably 2 times since then. If not the whole thing, I've gone back and watched clips because I'm sitting there with my wife watching it. I'm like, man, this is 2 wells of wisdom that we're listening to, especially for fans. You get so caught up in the rivalry, the arguments, the tweets, and so it's cool to sit back and watch two people from their perspective, who have been in it, and but something that Coach K said. And I'm not going to say a quote unquote because I can't remember exactly how he said it, but he said, of all the teams out there, they can have spectacular teams. 200 teams have great games, but they can't be in this game. Talking about the Duke and Carolina. And it just makes you realize how special this rivalry is. And I can't help but talk about it some more with it coming up this Saturday. And you look back at the success of both programs, Carolina, Duke, and it just makes me think, even back to some of my favorite Duke and Carolina moments. Now, I'm 28. I was born in 96, so I wasn't able to actually watch prior to that, obviously, some of the moments. But I know some of my favorite moments, and I was curious, Rick, man, do you have any moments that stick out to you when you think back to Duke, Carolina?
I mean, it's such a great rivalry, and I try to actually, for those that are new to college sports, I try to, introduce them to them. Like, you need to watch this. Like, it's just different. It's on a different level across, across all of college sports, football and everything. But favorite moments, I mean, there's so many out there. I'll go against the grain, and I think I probably have tweeted this out before, but and it'll be a little bit recency bias. It's not necessarily a favorite moment, but it's a game in totality.
Yeah.
But 2019 ACC tournament, again, with Zion came back. That was the highest. Now, there's been very, very great teams, obviously, over the past 20, 30 years.
Right.
But just recent memory, one of the highest played games, just from a pure basketball standpoint, of shot making, quality defense. That game, both of those teams deserved to win.
They did. What was the final score? 74-73, I think, was the final score. Yeah. That was just, I mean, sometimes I do rewatch that on YouTube. And that was a great Carolina team. Man, he was up there. Kobe White.
Justin.
Yes, man. I mean, they were so good. I remember, which one was it? It was very early on. They dropped the ball, dribbled it down. Dude just runs down, picks it up, just shoots it, drains the three on Carolina. But, I mean, like, that's how the game started off. And it was a frantic pace to that whole game. Zion, of course. Or was it RJ? Missed the free throw, caught the rebound, put it back in.
Yeah, I can't even remember that specific moment now. I can see there's so many great moments and just key plays. I mean, it was high-flying pace. Everybody remembers the Zion fast break dunk.
I
remember the heart attack close with Kobe White with the ball, and I'm like, they can't make this shot.
Right.
There's no way they're going to make this shot. And he shot that, and I think it hit the front of the rim, and I honestly thought it was good.
Yep.
Just based on the angle. I wasn't there in person.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, man. And then...
And in this rivalry, we've seen games where that ball went in upon a last attempt shot like that. So your heart always pauses, especially for us as Duke fans. You think back to that 2010 Butler game, We're like, holy cow, it was so close to being a totally different story, I think one of my favorite Duke and Carolina moments, because I remember exactly where I was, and this is probably going to be a common answer that you hear amongst Duke fans, but it was the Austin Rivers 3, because it's,
for sure.
I mean, 2010 or 2009, 2010, I think. I remember exactly which bedroom I was laying in. I remember the rest of the family, they were in the living room watching it. And I went to the back bedroom because I thought Duke was going to lose. I was mad, frustrated, didn't want to be around anybody. And apparently at some point they had paused the TV in the living room for a little bit because someone went to the bathroom or whatever. Well, I didn't know that, So I'm in the room watching it in real time, and he hits the three. I scream, Duke wins, said a couple words, and they got mad because, the game's not over yet. I'm like, yeah, it is, but it turns out they paused it. But that shot, and just the clutch gene that Austin had, and then, well, I'm going to give two answers. The one that follows up, man, was the two buzzer beaters in 2020. Trey Jones, Wendell Moore. Yeah. Gosh, man, what a classic.
That's a wild, wild game. If you look at those, the score with, at the end of regulation and overtime where they were up 6 with however many seconds, there's no way.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because it makes you realize how free throws change a game, because there's literally points without clock being taken off.
Yeah.
And Trey Jones, man, he just went into takeover mode. And I mean, I will never forget, man, the feeling I had when Wendell Moore tipped up ball. And oh gosh, man, I went ballistic, man. Well,
I got a quick question with Trey's approach to that free throw. Are you surprised that more teams have not adopted that? I mean, across even the NBA and other college teams, I haven't watched every single game throughout history, but it worked. What's your thoughts on that? We're like,
I'm surprised it's not practiced more, but I do feel like, and I can't prove this based on like stats or analytics, but I feel like I've seen teams try it more since that game. But credit to Che Jones, he just executed it so well to perfection. Which I remember him saying that he had practiced that very scenario, maybe even the week prior to that game.
Yeah, with Coach Shire.
Yeah. And so, I mean, so to me, the amazing part of it is how they practiced it. And that, and then to be Coach K, to have the guts to go with the call. I just don't think a lot of people, for one, practice it enough. But then secondly, man, do enough coaches have the guts to, in the moment, in a game with that much intensity, to say, you know what, miss it. I just don't, and so I think it's a combination of just the practice that went into it, the greatness of Coach K and his instincts. But man, I mean, it definitely made for an exciting historical game. I wish teams would go for it more, and instead of leaving it up to maybe they'll get a turnover or something. Create your own second chance. I was a big fan of it, and for one, I had never seen it before prior to that game.
I don't think I have either, honestly. Most people try to just go straight. They try and throw it straight at the back of the rim, and it almost never works just based on the angle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I've seen it either.
But because like even then, going back and watching it, it's just mind blowing, Rick. Because when you watch the ball bounce off the rim, Tre Jones is the one who got the rebound, and you've got a lot of people on the court, and the way he got it, and then the way he dribbled around those players. It looked like he wasn't going to even be able to get a shot attempt off, let alone make it. Just the whole thing looked so awkward after it bounced off the rim. But he got it in, man. Praise God. Because I remember I was with my dad, and Duke was losing, and he's like, Tyler, Tyler's my middle name because Tyler's not that serious, man. It's a basketball game. I say, yeah, it is, Dad. Duke's going to lose, and I'm mad, And so when he made that, I had a totally different personality change. But So man, all that
wasn't a good UNC team either. No. So that's like something where we couldn't drop that game. But
and that's why to me it's so hard to predict how these games will go, because that's a perfect example. Carolina, in theory, they should have definitely lost that game, but yet they were worthy of winning that game. And that's just, man, that's what makes this game so special, because both teams, it doesn't matter how their last game went, doesn't matter how the prior games went, man, they're gonna bring it to that game, and so I'm very excited for this Saturday. Excited, man. Will this be another one of those historical thriller games? I think it will be. But I'm excited to see, and I really hope, God, man, I really hope Duke wins.
Same.
Do you, bro? I just wish people, and some do. I wish people understood how hard it is to live in North Carolina, in Tar Heel Nation, and have to go to church the next Sunday morning, man.
Yeah. We're outnumbered, even outside of North Carolina. Like, it's definitely the saying where like you either love Duke or you hate Duke. It's very much like that. So there's definitely, I would say, there's more UNC fans across the nation anyways too. So it's tough for all of us, including obviously you in North Carolina as well.
It's right, because you know what? Hopefully a Duke win will shut them all up. But look, dude, let's quickly talk about, because there was some pretty big Duke news today that came out. I am gonna butcher his name, so I hope you know how to say it. But 7'2", right? 7 inches.
Yes, sir. Yep.
I'm sorry, 7 feet. 7 foot 2 inches tall. I've been praying that we get him. So when I saw that tweet pop up today, I screamed at work. And then of course you already have the existing 4 or 5-star recruits that we had. We've got a 4-star, but then he comes on. Now we got 5-star recruits coming in next year. It's just a stellar class, man. Talk on that a little bit.
Yeah, so I was hoping you were going to try and attempt his name. I will try it, but come on, Malak. but
Good
that's the
enough for
closest
me.
I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 7'2", shot blocker, rebounder. He does have some ball skills.
Right.
Him with Cooper. Cooper's, I think he's listed at 6'9", 6'10".
Yeah.
We have, I think his last name pronounced it Ngongba, 6'11".
Yeah.
I mean, that's a nasty front court before we even start talking about
Isaiah.
Yeah.
Darren.
Yeah. I mean, Isaiah, you got Stewart hopefully coming back. This is definitely shades of 2018, 2019, and I know when I say that and I tweet that out that that the haters somehow find my tweets and
Rick,
go
about that,
them,
how do so many haters find your Twitter account, man? Every time I get on Twitter, someone is coming at your throat, man.
I don't know.
It's entertainment.
I do relish it.
I
do accept all their rent payments, but man, it's. I mean, the talent level. You think about back to 2018, 2019, just the amount that we had coming in. Some guys staying and returning as well. Like, I think it's very much next year can be comparable to that. Hopefully, those are 2 great years where we made the Elite Eight. Basically came one shot short in both of those. But it's going to start and end with Cooper. Yeah. We all know that. We've seen his games. We've seen his highlight. Isaiah, I think, I don't know if the casual fan knows yet, but I think Duke fans know he has an attitude to him, which
he and Cooper do. They both have a nasty attitude, which honestly, if it wins some games,
make people hate them more. Will hate us more. But you need that. I mean, Jared McCain plays with a little bit of that this year. He relishes in, the painted fingernails and all that hate.
Right.
But next year, I mean, we got some shooters coming in. We got Darren.
Yep.
I think both of those guys are a little underrated, but that front court is looking pretty nasty. We got to see who comes back. I'm not going to speculate on who, if Mark, Sean, all them. But you got to be excited as a Duke fan because, we know we're spoiled, but it's a special squad this year. We got another special squad next year, but it's definitely something to look forward to. I am the Malak, I think that's how you say it. But that's that 7'2" presence. I mean, even if he isn't averaging double digits, but that presence just being there,
it changes the game.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we saw it last year with Lively. We saw it with Mark Williams. Like, it's a whole different facet.
And like, especially not having it as much this year, it really makes you look forward to it.
Yeah,
because you can kind of compare, contrast, and like, I can't wait to have that element really back to the team. Not saying anything bad about this team, but that's one thing that I'm like, man, if we could get a big 7-foot some dude, down in the paint, gosh, that would, but
Yeah, and I think to talk on that point real quick, comparison between this year and next year, or even last year's team, it really stresses when you don't have that shot blocker. Like, this year is pretty comparable, not quality of team-wise because we don't know how it's going to end yet, but 2015 when we won a title, we didn't have a shot blocker. That just, when you don't have a shot blocker, that just stresses the importance of the backcourt just being very fundamentally sound on defense and communicating and rotating. Yeah. That's what I think we've seen definitely over the last three weeks or so. So it gives you a little bit next year. It gives you a little bit more room for error if these guys coming in, if there isn't that level of cohesiveness in the backcourt on the defensive end, that you do have a shot eraser in him. And that just might be one. But, like, also let's talk about Cooper and his shot blocking ability. Like, it's not just him. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to think about. We'll see how it shakes out.
I mean, because, gosh, man, Cooper, he's just an overall great athlete. I think just early on, and I'm no expert, but just looking into next season, bird's eye view, I think the key is, man, how quick can we get team chemistry, get everyone on the same page, playing together? I think the Duke coaching staff's pretty phenomenal at that. And how much experience can we get throughout the season? That'll do us well in March, because it's going to be a young crew. It's going to be a young group. So I'm just excited to see that.
Yeah, I agree. Same here. I think a key point too, I don't want to dabble too far into the who's staying and who's not, but a key point of emphasis next year will be who's going to lead the point for us. And, we have a lot of tweeners on this roster this year that they could go, they could stay. Yeah. But you got Proctor, Foster, Jared, maybe. I mean, even Roach. Like, who's going to lead? Who's going to run point, and who's going to be? We do have Con and Harris in the shooting guard, but who's going to run point and run this offense? I mean, that's going to be a key point. Some of our best Duke teams had that true point guard. Yeah. Moving that ball around. So we'll see how that shakes out as well.
A lot to look forward to. It's a good time to be a Blue Devil, and so it's like I hope fans are excited for next season. I hope they're excited for what we could do the remainder of this month, and who knows, possibly into April. But look, Rick, I have one more question that I wanted to ask you before we wrap up, because I love to know how Duke fans became Duke fans. So just tell me how you became to be Rick the Blue Devil fan.
All right. So I did get it from my father. Okay. I grew up, a little bit of background, I grew up in the Buffalo area. And most college fans know that's the home of Christian Laettner. Went to Nichols High School in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. So that's my dad. I think he got his fan base a little bit before that, but I kind of grew up in that era. Yeah. And we know how Buffalo fans are with their sports, and very, very proud of their sports teams. And when you have a player,
we know Cameron.
The level of, shout out to Cameron. But when you have a player the level of Christian Laettner, arguably, the college basketball go up there with Lou Alcindor. But coming out of Buffalo like that draws people in, and you support them. So that's kind of what kicked it off. My childhood. My older childhood, late 90s, going in 2000s, like that was also peak Duke basketball. Oh, yeah. So I grew up a fan based on, my father, and then you had Jay Williams and Shane Battier and Elton Brand coming in, and that's really where, like, I don't want to call it an obsession because that sounds unhealthy, but my passion for the university kicked off. Definitely. It's grown since then. I've gotten into more of the analytics and stuff like that post college as kind of like a side passion. But it started back then. I'm actually enrolling for my second master's at Duke. So nice. there's a tie-in. I know there's a lot of people out there on Twitter. I'm sure you get it. I'm sure other people get it. We're like, oh, you got to go to school. Right. Listen, Duke is Harvard of the South or Stanford of the East. Like, it's not everybody's going to be able to do that. But
exactly. Only a small population of the world goes to Duke University. So if that was the logic, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
Not much of a logic, but that's that's a little bit of my background in fandom. So I love Duke. I love everything Duke. All their sports teams. Try to follow all of them as much as I can. But
well,
bleed blue.
Bleed blue, and I know we've been talking quite a bit as far as the group chat, getting together for a Duke game. We talk about it every year, man, and we have not made it happen yet. So we have to make a game at Cameron Indoor Stadium happen in 24-25, okay? Like, we've got to do it, especially with that class coming in, bro. I'm going to watch them, so,
I am so down. You can mark me down as confirmed for that. I've already been actually somewhat planning ahead for that. Okay. We'll see if it will be in the fall or maybe a conference game. Yeah. But hey, I don't know about what you guys have planned, but if Duke makes a run, they win 4 straight. I will also be in Phoenix for something. So shout out if you guys want to come out. You let me know.
Don't tempt me too much, man. Don't tempt me too much. I'm sure the wife's in the other room listening, thinking, budget, but we'll see, man. We'll see. But I have a place to stay, right? If I come to Phoenix, right?
Yes, sir. Always, yes.
See,
but we'll figure that out for next year for sure.
Yeah,
I'd like to actually get we did have that Vegas meetup. I didn't meet you out there, but I met Rob.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see the schedule drops next year. I'd like to maybe do 2 different type of meetups next year.
And
so we'll
Champions Classic, I've been looking at it, and I'm like, man, Duke, Kentucky, with these boys.
What city is it in next year? I forgot.
Oh, gosh, where is it? Atlanta, Georgia.
Chicago? Atlanta?
Yep,
okay.
Yep, it's in Atlanta in November. So.
Okay. That might be it.
Yeah, don't think I haven't been looking at it. But again, I see those prices. I'm like, whew, but I don't think they've officially started selling tickets. So anyways, we'll just see how all that looks, man. But dude, Rick, thanks for coming on tonight, man. I know you had a long work day, so did I, but I'm so excited to drop this episode. I'm excited for Duke and Carolina on Saturday. And if all goes well, man, we're gonna be celebrating Saturday night. So.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you for having me on. Sorry it went a little bit long, but I'm feeling confident.
Yeah.
I think those with the Duke blue, those ally to that color, I think we're gonna be happy on Saturday, and it's gonna be a good game regardless. But thanks again for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. And for everyone else, make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode.